We're rolling. Thank you. I hate the healthcare industry. I hate it so much. I want to make a video at some point. I just don't know what platform it will be on, explaining why I hate the legal fraternity so much. Because, every now and then I sit with lawyers or people that are from that dark world. And I always tell them I hate lawyers. They're like, but why do you? I'm like, hey, I hate lawyers. Anyways, I hate the healthcare industry. I hate Western medicine as a concept because the capitalism that drives it is so obsessed with keeping people sick that once you start understanding how this thing works, you can't unsee it. And it triggers you. I was watching an episode of Chicago Med. I think it's Dick Wolf. I stand to be corrected. And there was this lady who was super paranoid. She was in a hospital and she refused to get healthcare. She had jaundice. Her hand had been cut open. And she was going through all these conspiracy theories about how hospitals and all about making money and making people sick and whatever. And then it came out later that her sister had died from cancer. And I think there may have been medical negligence. And the closer you get to the healthcare industry, whether you're dating someone, married to someone, your mom is a nurse, you realize how filthy this place can get. And worse when you understand the money machine behind it. A good movie to watch, even though not really for kids because it's got a lot of sex. Love and Other Drugs. Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, if I'm not mistaken, which speaks about the pharmaceutical industry and its darkness. And there's a lot of documentaries as well. I'm supposed to give a disclaimer. I will give a disclaimer. It's very important. I apologize to YouTube. I apologize to Google that owns YouTube and all the people that own this beautiful platform that we're going to be on here, and probably the clips that are going to be going on other platforms. I will be speaking about aspects of the healthcare industry and aspects of healthcare in general, which I am not qualified to do. I am not a medical doctor. I am not a specialist in medicine. I did not study medicine. I did not study pharmacy. I am not qualified to speak on the things that I'm coming to speak about today. I'm not trying to damage any pharmaceutical company, any hospital, any clinic, any department of health anywhere. I'm here to share some of my opinions, and I'm going to be trying to reference some of the stuff from the internet. But just know that I'm not qualified to speak on the things I'm here to speak about. A few notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're not in order. Let me start with this one because this one is not so much healthcare per se, but it will touch on healthcare to some degree. The other ones get a bit more serious. South Africa's got a teen pregnancy pandemic. It's not meant to be a pandemic. It is a pandemic, unfortunately, because we as general society don't approve of children between the ages of 10 and 19 having babies. In the 2022-2023 year in South Africa, over 90,000 children between the ages of 10 years old and 19 years old gave birth in South Africa. It's scary. I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 2,500, if not close to 3,000, of those kids were aged between 10 and 14. Now, questions have been asked. Why? Why are kids falling pregnant? What's going on? And it's probably like a much longer conversation. The issue that I have, and partly why I'm raising it, is the South African government, the Department of Health, has deemed it okay to give contraceptives to children from the age of 12. These are children who, when you're 12, you're in grade 6, sometimes grade 5. You're a child. And the South African law have decided that it's okay to give these kids consent to get the injection, to take oral contraceptives without needing parental consent. You know, we speak about the violation of human rights, we speak about the violation of many things, and it's how do you allow children to do that? Now, on top of that, they've also said that children from the age of 12 can abort a pregnancy without parental consent. I think we need to have a conversation about it. I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. And obviously, we need to find solutions, but it's linked to this concept that young children are falling pregnant. Why are they falling pregnant? And, you know, when I was telling someone this stat, because they didn't believe it, you can go look it up yourself. Over 90,000 children. They were like, oh, they were raped. And I was like, no, they weren't. She was like, what? They were raped. And I was like, it makes me sad how so many of us were children before and we act like we weren't. Children have been having sex forever. In my years, I think between age 14 and 16 was when girls were breaking their virginity. And then for Amachita, it would normally be, because gents are a bit later, I think it would be from maybe 16 to 18. You must understand, the 14-year-old girls are sleeping with like 16-year-olds, which is why, and that 16-year-old gent is probably also having sex for like the first time and whatever. Children have sex with each other. And boys can impregnate girls at that young age. It's not that all 90,000 of these births or these children was from a school teacher or a coach or a neighbor or an uncle. There are definitely those cases, and those cases need to be looked into and people need to be punished accordingly. But children are having sex with each other. 18-year-old boys are having sex with 15-year-old girls in grade 9, and they're having babies. Part of the problem with this reporting is that we're not hearing and no one is tracking the ages of the fathers. It's almost like there's a propaganda. Oh, shock. Kids are having sex and falling pregnant. You're like, yeah, but who's we need to know who the father is and their age. And they don't show us that data. I've spoken to politicians to be like, imagine the data. And they're like, no, we don't have that information. I'm like, nah, you don't have that information. In South Africa, we've got an unabridged birth certificate, which needs to have the father's details there. And to be honest, one of the pandemics we have in this country is our government incentivizes single motherhood. It's easier for a mother of a child to get access to money, schooling, assistance when there's no father present. And I think we need to make a rule. I know it would cause a lot of controversy. I know it would upset a lot of people. I know there are people that are in really dire circumstances. But I would say, before a child gets a child grant, we need a social worker to meet both parents, and we need both parents to apply and be there. It can't be that the mother's showing up by herself, because we want to create united families. Because you'll find that a lot of these women that show up, including these children, the father's there and the father works, but she's going to lie and be like, I'm 18, I don't know where the father is, I don't want to speak about it, but then she still gets a child grant. It's wrong. So we've got a problem of teenage pregnancy. At some point, I think KZN was leading. I think maybe Gauteng has surpassed them. I know the Eastern Cape numbers are also high up. A big part of this has to do with just population dynamics. Like the biggest number of people live in KZN, Gauteng, the Eastern Cape. But then also you need to look at places like villages, townships, where there's lack of adult supervision, where the children don't have things to do. I mean, children finish school, they walk home, they don't have extramural activities, they don't have sports. So they're chilling together, they get up to mischief. And now with the advent of the internet, cell phones, there's porn everywhere. Kids watch porn and they want to try out what they're seeing. In the same way they see dancers online and they do dance challenges. You see these high school kids with their dance challenges. Some of them are interviewing each other. Who's the hottest guy in school? Who's the hottest chick in school? They do monologues. They do so many cool things. You can only imagine that when they see some of the darker things like street fighting, having sex, they copy from seeing that stuff. So maybe we also need to have a conversation around maybe even banning porn sites. When I went to visit Dubai a few years ago, when I got there, I remember some of the guys complained, like, say, websites. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, say, some of these, and you search. I'm obviously not saying that I was, I wasn't searching the things myself. But you just realize that with better leadership, porn sites in the UAE are banned. And that's something that your government can enforce. That's my first point, teenage pregnancy. Do I have anything else to say about teenage pregnancy? Do I have anything else to say? I was going to tell you guys about biology, but I don't want to. Because biologically, a girl, once she starts menstruating, which is roughly around age 12, that means her body is now ready to conceive and carry a child, but it's not ideal. Should I talk about it? Let me touch on it. There's a reason why our grandmothers could have 10, 15 children. There were reasons. A part of it was diet. The food they were eating was organic, so they were in better shape. Number 2 was lifestyle, like exercise. They used to fetch water from the river. They'd carry wood. They were active. So the body was also built for, I'm speaking elasticity, because when you fall pregnant, they're not sitting around in a car such that when you fall pregnant, your body's changing a lot. They were very active. Another big part of, they didn't have contraceptives. That's also very important. So, baba. We are prek. They didn't have contraceptives and they weren't aborting as well. But the other thing people don't talk about is that a lot of our grandmothers, great-grandmothers would fall pregnant at a very early age. From as young as 14, 15, 17. We speak about the scandalous nature of kings and chiefs marrying young girls. There were videos of men of the Shembe church in their 20s, 30s marrying 16, 17-year-old girls. But that's how we used to live in Africa. They used to have children at a young age. So the body and biology allows for that. The problem is modern society doesn't. And a part of it is the schooling structure. So school says you must finish primary school at 13, you must finish high school at 18, and then hopefully go to tertiary, which means you're probably only going to start working in your mid-20s. That's now the school capitalism structure. If we were going according to nature, because I can tell you now, animals don't do that. Chimpanzees don't go to school and then they must get married, and they are on an independence framework. What that means is you get a young boy, a young girl at age 5 when they can start speaking and whatever. You have a farm, you have a shop, the kid plays around there. So instead of going to school, they do whatever the parents are doing. If you were on land, young girls would go and help their mothers in the garden, boys would go and herd livestock. And in that space, you're also learning whatever's happening. So if you are a 9-year-old girl and you've got a sister who's 18, who's falling pregnant, you're there helping because there was no hospital and midwife. All of you guys, you're learning apprenticeship in real time. And that forces you to mature quicker. And you are exposed to things quicker. It may shock some people today, but emakaya, ezilalini, in the villages, boys age 10 can slaughter a goat by themselves. Slaughter it, open it up, cut the meat pieces. Girls from the ages of 10, 12 can babysit a child, carry a child on their back, make formula. These foods, not purity, but there's these powder foods that they make for kids. Nabo purity, and they feed the kids. And they literally are children, babysitting children, but they're learning very important mothering skills in that. So they get to an age where very quickly they are mature enough to take care of a child. And if you're in a space where you're part of the economy, whether it's crops, farming, you are now able to. And even if you were to do the research, you'll find out your grandfather, great-grandfather and them, they'd get married young. Chita was 18, his father had some cows. They found him a 16-year-old girl. Bambisi in Kombashada type of situation. Things have changed, obviously, now. what we are not doing, sadly, I remember we had a chat with Usizwe Dube and Tebogo Kebini about sex education for children. What we are not doing as families, as communities, so-called governments and schools, is we are not training children about sex. We are not training children around contraceptives, pregnancy, and the likes. Because the age of consent in South Africa is 12, legally. But 12-year-olds can sleep with anyone within the range of 12 to 16 if there's a 3-year gap. It's allowed, it's fair play. And then the official age of consent is 16. 16-year-old boy, 16-year-old girl can sleep with anyone they want above 16 and anyone they want below 16 within a 3-year range. Our children, although the law says at 12 and 16, don't know what sex is. They don't know what contraceptives are. They don't know what pregnancy is. They don't know what motherhood, fatherhood is. They don't know about providing for a child and the complexities. And at the very least, they should know these things and have some experience and exposure. This is basically like saying, if we were to say we allow children at the age of 14 to get a driving license, should it not hold that before they turn 14, they've had exposure to a car? They can simulate, they can learn the parts. If they can, at 12, 13, they start driving a car so that at 14, if they want, they can then get a driving license. But, we've got this sex consent at 12, 16, but we haven't equipped the children. And then we get shocked when kids are doing weird things where sex ed is actually meant to start, in my opinion, maybe even from the age of 5. To be fully honest, 5 years old is grade RR, 6 is grade R, and then 7 is grade 1. Children should have a basic, you are a boy, this is a girl. This is a penis, this is a vagina. Just to know that, boy, don't get naked in front of girl because that leads to babies, or just basic so that he's naked. He's gonna, if you ever see these cute white kid videos, especially from America, that'll be like, oh my gosh, he's naked. That means I'm gonna be pregnant. You're like, yeah, but he didn't touch you. Yeah, but my mom told me that when a boy is naked, then he's gonna get you pregnant. And you're like, oh, that's cute. But that's just basic sex ed. To be like I said, this is what it is. And then as the years go by, you gradually train kids. And from primary school, kids should know all the STIs. Your syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, HPV, zonke bonke. To be like, these are the things, they're sexually transmitted. These are the ones you get orally through the mouth. These are the ones you get through penetration. These are the ones from anal. These are whatever. And why it's important to not have sex. Never mind at the right age. Just not have sex at all. And, this education could apply even to grown-ups. Why are you not having sex? Oh, for these reasons. I'm going through this. I'm doing that. I'm not ready to have a child. I can't be intimate with someone. And you're like, oh, okay, that's fair. I'm injured. These are valid reasons to not have sex. And then valid reasons to not have unprotected sex. Why are you having unprotected sex? And you teach kids and you speak to an 11, 12-year-old. Hey, do you know about sex? I know very well. We speak about it at school. I speak about it with my family. We speak about it with my community. Some of the TikTok videos we watch, I know exactly what sex is. I know it's about the penis penetrating the vagina. I know there's oral sex. I know there's anal. I know there's incre. And you're like, oh shit, these kids know what they're doing. So that when they get together, they know exactly what's going on. Then they learn about the different contraceptives. Very important. The injection, the pill, the implant, the patch, and others. Know about abortions, especially abortions, my back door, which can lead to them dying, and infections. Learn about all those things and the side effects. Got young girls busy popping pills, getting injected. The day they try to fall pregnant in their 20s, 30s, they're struggling. They've got fertility issues. They've got PCOS and the like. All because no one taught them about the side effects and all those things. They've had miscarriages and abortions and all these things, and they've messed themselves up. So we need to have conversations around that. And not only will it lower this number of teenage pregnancies and teenage births, the 90,000 is births, not pregnancies, excluding abortions, excluding children having sex. You might find that from this 90,000, maybe there's 300,000 kids having sex. but maybe 150,000 fell pregnant, some miscarried, some aborted, some maybe on contraceptives, and only 90,000 gave birth. Not only will these numbers go down because the kids will now be switched on. The young, dizzy 15-year-old boy who's meeting a 17-year-old girl who's like, hey, do you know how to have sex? And the boy's like, no, come, let me show you. You're like, yo, Donna was having sex with Natalie. Isn't she in grade 11? Yeah. But you're in grade 9. Yeah, the older ladies love me. Hey, whatever, man. When that girl comes to the young boy will be like, no, sorry, I don't want to have sex with you. No, but let me show. No, thanks. I'm not ready to have sex. These are the reasons. Did you not study sex ed like the rest of us? So no, thanks. One of the things that might surprise us in these births is you may find that a girl who gave birth at age 16, the father is 14. The girl who gave birth at 18, the father una 15. All of a sudden, we're speaking potential statutory rape of the boy, the father of the child. It's like, how did it happen, Uti? The mother of your child is 5 years older than you, but what's una 16? Like, oh no, number one, we were doing stupid things like drinking alcohol, and then this chick was like, she wants to show me something, and she told me to take off my pants. And she did something, and my dick got hard. And then after that, she started getting on top of me, and I didn't know what was going on, and stuff came out. And then next thing, my family's being called, and I'm being shouted at, and my father's beating me up. I didn't know what was going on at the time, dog. And it's like, Tonam, you were violated. But this data, it's like someone is protecting us from it. If anything, we need a commission of inquiry into the ages of the fathers of these teenage births. Just to isolate the ones who are actually raping children, to see how many relatives, that's another scandalous one, how many of these fathers are actually relatives, to a point where you may find that the girl who gave birth, the person who impregnated her was her brother. They were chilling at home watching porn bekanga. Disgusting, but it happens. And if we're not going to have these hard conversations, we're not going to solve the problems. Anyways, I think I'll end there on that one. There's a nice billboard on the highway is it the M1? I'm not sure. Between Joburg and Pretoria. There's a nice billboard that speaks about cervical cancer and how it starts with HPV. I just want to get you guys the definition. Cervical. Cervical cancer is a type of cancer that develops in the cervix or in any layer of the wall of the cervix. We're speaking about the internal parts of a woman's anatomy. It is due to the abnormal growth of cells that can invade or spread to other parts of the body. That's now just speaking to cancer in general for people that don't know. Early on, typically no symptoms are seen. Later symptoms may include abnormal vaginal bleeding from the vagina, pelvic pain, or pain during sexual intercourse. While bleeding after sex may not be serious, it may also indicate the presence of cervical cancer. Let's go to the definition of cancer itself. Cancer is a group of diseases involving abnormal cell growth. We've all got cells in our body, but then when they multiply, I'm sorry to use this very horrible example, but to understand, it's like an influx of undocumented immigrants in your body that are now coming to chow resources, because that's the problem with cancer. The more cells you have in your body, because you're meant to have a set number, the more resources they need, and then they start eating up resources. So if you've got an influx of undocumented immigrants in your country and you've got limited resources, they're going to start eating the things that are meant to be eaten by your citizens, making your citizens hungry, and they start eating the wrong things. That's now when we speak things like cannibalism, where your body's almost eating itself. Cancer is a group of diseases involving abnormal cell growth with the potential to invade or spread to other parts of the body. These contrast with benign tumors, which do not spread. So you may find a growth when they pick up on a scan. It may not be cancer. It may be a benign tumor, which doesn't spread and it can be removed. Sometimes they don't even need to remove it if they feel it's non-invasive and not a problem. Possible signs and symptoms include a lump, abnormal bleeding, prolonged cough, unexplained weight loss, and a change in bowel movements. While these symptoms may indicate cancer, they can also have other causes. I mean, abnormal bleeding from anywhere, bleeding from the gums. We spoke about vaginal bleeding. Could be bleeding from your penis, which might be another STI. It could be bleeding somewhere else, maybe from your ear. You might have an ear infection. A prolonged cough. Now that doesn't mean it's saying you may have TB, tuberculosis. You may have some chest infection. Unexplained weight loss. When they have unexplained weight loss and a change in bowel movements. That's when you go into the bathroom. And the like. While they may indicate cancer, there can be other causes. There are over 100 types of cancers that affect human beings. And then the last thing I'm going to research here is, because I just want to confirm the number for you guys. I know the numbers generally, but I want to get the official. Number of cervical cancer cases, South Africa. In South Africa, there are approximately 10,700 new cases of cervical cancer diagnosed every year. Over 10,700, and cancer kills. To be honest, you'd rather be HIV positive than have cancer. You'd rather have almost anything besides cancer. And cancer, baba, kid. Cancer attacks anyone, sadly. With almost 6,000 deaths every year, according to this disease. Cervical cancer is the second most common cancer among women in South Africa and the most frequent among women aged 15 to 44. Why speak about cervical cancer at all? Close to 6,000 deaths, over 10,000 cases a year. It's okay. But cervical cancer can be avoided. It can be, what's the right English? You can basically keep yourself from getting cervical cancer because it's got a cause. Cervical cancer is primarily caused by the human papilloma virus, HPV, not HIV, not immune deficiency. HPV, human papilloma virus infection, which is a sexually transmitted infection. Primarily, I spoke about teenage pregnancy. I spoke about sexual ed. Women between the ages of 15 to 44. This includes now ladies that are in high school, tertiary, young graduates, grown women, married women. You can get HPV through sex. And having that HPV there can then graduate into cervical cancer. And depending on when you pick up the cancer, it might be too late and it might have spread through your body and then you end up dying. And when it's picked up, as much as certain cancers can be arguably spontaneous, we can be like, this could have been avoided. This could have been avoided. And again, I want to give a shout out. I don't remember whose billboard it is. To say, try and sort out this thing so that you don't have to pick up, because it's a huge killer of women in this country. What's the next thing I'm looking for? Oh, how to pick up. How to pick up HPV. HPV is acquired through skin-to-skin contact during sexual activity, including vaginal, anal, and oral. So you might be like, no, but I just give blowjobs. Blowjobs. Uskita po brazo. Omchita going down. I mean, I'm after now. May I go down? Like, okay. Kotin komo. Chita kwazula ukutshela ngathi ayikhothwa le nto na. Sexual activity including vaginal, anal, and oral. It can also be spread through genital to genital contact. This is particularly important for lesbians, because lesbians are like, no, tina shayisiza baba. Siyarapha laba kumnandi. And you're like, yeah, but please just check. I'm a lesbian. I don't understand how I got HPV. I've never had sex with a man. Yeah. Maybe your partner's had sex with a man, or maybe somewhere qua bed. Genital to genital contact, oral genital contact, and anal genital contact. Essentially any close skin to skin contact in the genital area. I want to search for a pap smear. It's got such a weird name because like South African papa is something else. So, the pap smear, also known as a pap test or Papa-Nicolau test is a screening procedure used to detect abnormal cells in the cervix, the lower part of the uterus. These abnormal cells can potentially lead to cervical cancer. And early detection through pap smears is crucial for effective treatment and improved outcomes. Pap smears can also help identify other conditions such as infections or inflammation. I really apologize, man, for discussing the female anatomy. I'm not a woman. Yes, I am a father of daughters. I am a brother to sisters. I am a son to a mom. In the absence of other people speaking about it, we have to. Yes, I'm not a woman. Yes, there has to be sensitivity. Yes, etc. But I do think sometimes the message is more important than the messenger. HPV can be prevented. Cervical cancer can be prevented. And I think, the reason I'm raising this is because the number of stories I've heard from women, family, friends, etc., of family members who have died from cervical cancer is heartbreaking. And a lot of them are not aware. The first time they learn from it is when it's picked up, look, there's abnormal cells. We just like to do further testing. And then it comes out, you've actually got cervical cancer. And depending on when they find it, it might be too late. And all I'm asking is, we need more women to go for pap smears to try and pick these things up. It's a very uncomfortable procedure. Very uncomfortable. There's penetration there. They have to take samples. But it can save your life. The one thing I struggled with, I didn't look this up, is picking up HPV in men. Because as much as we speak about women, you may find that a man infected you. Well, chances if you're a woman is that a man infected you. There isn't a routine HPV test available for men, like there is for women with cervical screening. While HPV tests are used for cervical cancer screening in women, they are not recommended for routine screening in men. Men are typically diagnosed with HPV if they develop visible symptoms like genital warts, or if they are undergoing screening for anal cancer due to risk factors. So they might be looking for anal cancer because mhlampe akukho grand toilet, there's pains, whatever, and then they might pick this thing up. Because what I've heard is that some of these tests require probing in the anus for men, and gents don't want that, Baba. Which is sadly also why gents don't test for prostate. It wasn't in my notes, but I'm actually going to look that up for you guys as well. Men may have HPV, they may be giving it to you, but they don't know. One of the visible symptoms is genital warts. So if umchita and somewhere on your balls, your dick shaft, there's a bump there somewhere, please go get it checked out. It may not be anything. It might be something called a skin tag, which can be removed, or actually maybe isn't even in anything. There are things called benign tags, etc., growths. But just clear that up before you get your woman sick, before your woman dies of cancer, specifically your wife, your girlfriend. These things can be avoided. Sadly, there isn't a routine test, but for women there is. And I'd like to encourage women to say, this is your life. This is your health. So please take ownership. Let me go to prostate. Oh. And it's one of my gents, we were born in the same year. We went to go and watch rugby recently, and he was like, hey, Don, have you gone to check for prostate? I'm like, hey, Baba. Hey, Baba. He was like, hey, Baba, we're at that age. I'm like, hey, we're not. We're not. But he's like, start early. And I took the message. Prostate cancer is the uncontrolled growth of cells in the prostate, a gland in the male reproductive system below the bladder. Prostate cancer, by the way, for those that don't know, and I'll get you the difference in the definition, is not testicular cancer. Prostate is something different from the testes, the balls, the kahunas. Abnormal growth of the prostate tissue is usually detected through screening tests, typically blood tests that check for prostate-specific antigen levels. Now, I wanna find this nice vibe that gents fucking hate. Prostate test. A prostate test. Oh, Machita. Just warning. Some very violent words are coming now. A prostate test, specifically the digital rectal exam, the DRE, involves a doctor inserting a gloved, lubricated finger into the rectum to feel the prostate gland for any abnormalities. I-rectum ke maningafundanga bafethu English is mabefaka umunendunu in your anus to feel. Not only is the doctor, and sadly it might be a male doctor as well, with very long fingers. Not only do they have to put their finger in there, they also need to feel there in the rectum. This is done to screen for prostate cancer and other prostate issues. It's normally performed alongside a PSA blood test, which I spoke about. It's brief, usually lasting about a minute. So yeah, to feel the prostate gland. There have been arguments that the male G-spot, this research was probably done by gay gents. There's a theory that the male G-spot, where they climax and they what is in the prostate, which is in the space. Goodbye thola kanjani sebezochaza obafo. Goodbye thola kanjani. But you feel for the prostate and you feel for any abnormalities. And if they are, then they need to do further testing, of course, with the bloods to see. Let me see if I can, before I get numbers for you, I want to just do the difference, because this one you can do yourself. This one doesn't need to do it unless if you've got problems. This one you do for yourself every time you bath, shower, etc. Testicular cancer is cancer that develops in the testicles, a part of the male reproductive system. Symptoms may include a lump in the testicle or swelling or pain in the scrotum. Treatment may result in infertility. Besides the treatment as well, it's not written here, you may find that the having of that cancer as well, and it also may affect your infertility. We don't speak enough about men that are the reason why you can't conceive. To a lot of ignorant people, when you can't conceive, there must be something wrong with the woman. The woman must go check, the woman must what. But you may find that there's something wrong with Umchita himself. And contrary to popular belief, the quality of a man's sperm starts deteriorating from age 35. Not only might you be infertile and you can't have babies as Umchita, but the quality of your sperm, the quality of the child having a higher risk to development issues, to disabilities and the like, is much higher. Now, when we speak about these things, like, Penuel, I'm like, you know what? You can hate me all you want. You can judge me for my personal life. That's okay. But we have to go to medicine, we have to go to biology, and we have to go to educated people. The male body, the human body, biologically is ready to start making babies from age 12, male and female. It peaks in your mid-20s, peaks. And then it starts going down. For women, the rate of the depletion of their eggs from age 28 is rapid, to a point where when they get to age 35, they've got few eggs and the quality of their eggs is poor, which is why medically at age 35, a woman is deemed a high-risk pregnancy from age 35. It's not because of patriarchy or toxic masculinity or Penuel basjwayela. I'm an independent woman. It's not us, bro. It's biology that has been researched. From age 35 onwards, the quality of the male sperm deteriorates, the woman's fertility rate and the quality of her eggs and the number of the eggs goes down. Women now start counting down to premenopause, menopause, etc. Those are the issues that we have. But people, of course, because of capitalism, schooling, and in this mid-20s at your peak, they are not even having kids because they don't have money. They're not educated. They are not trained to be parents. So they're like, I'm not ready. I'll have kids later. But to be fully honest, from teens, your body's ready. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. One of the reasons you'll hear this from one nurse, my midwife that deliver in public especially, they're like these young girls that deliver in public. They bounce back within a few days. Akufana neskokwana at 38 who's given birth and then like you have to wait a while for the body to change and the stretch marks. Mileage on the body. This is not even shade. Your body's elasticity has waned over years. The 18-year-old girl gives birth, bounces back in a few days, no stretch marks. So unfair, but it is nature and biology. It's not us. Anyways, testicular cancer. Sorry. I'm responding to a message now because there's a guest coming. Testicular cancer is a cancer that develops in the testicles, a part of the male reproductive system. Symptoms may include a lump in the testicle or swelling or pain in the scrotum. And this is where I was trying to speak to. Every time you're bathing, showering, yeah, if you like playing with yourself, but more than that, please fiddle around with your testicles just to feel if there's any lump. Okay. Just get used to them. Almost a similar one would be breast cancer for women, which is why women are always encouraged to feel their breasts for any potential lumps and the likes. Again, it could be a benign tumor. It could be something that can be removed easily. If it's cancerous cells, maybe they can be removed and you're good to go. You may lose a testicle if there's cancer. Just as women, when they find breast cancer, they may lose a breast or both, whatever, depending on how far the cancer has spread. That's testicular cancer. I want to get the numbers for you. I know also for, let me type like this. High risk of prostate cancer in men. This is a horrible way to search. The risk of prostate cancer increases with age, with the most significant rise occurring after the age of 50. While prostate cancer is rare in men under 40, it becomes increasingly common in men over 50, particularly those in their 60s and 70s. Approximately 6 in 10, 60% of prostate cancers are diagnosed in men aged 65 and older. With that being said, take initiative, be proactive. Even if you're under 40, please go check your prostate. And then you can check for testicular cancer at any time. I'm only doing this because we can't just be speaking about the women. It's important that as Amachita as well, we also take care of our health. Testicular cancer, unlike prostate, is most common in males between the ages of 15 and 45, while the highest incidence typically occurs in the late teens and early 30s. So please fiddle with your balls every day. I can go on and on. I think I'll stop there. Do I stop there? No. Let me see if I can get numbers. South Africa. In South Africa, prostate cancer is a significant cause of death among men, accounting for a notable percentage of cancer-related fatalities. While specific annual mortality figures are not consistently cited, data indicates that prostate cancer contributes to over 4,000 new cases diagnosed annually. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer diagnosed in South African men and is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in South Africa. I just want to check. There's 2 prominent men that I'm thinking of now, but without mentioning their names, I just want to see if they actually did pass away from this. Not necessarily died from it, but were diagnosed with it. Let's not speak death as yet. 2001, Tata Nelson Mandela was diagnosed with prostate cancer. It was detected early and he underwent a 7-week course of radiation therapy. His doctors indicated the cancer was not life-threatening and should not impact his life expectancy. Nelson Mandela had prostate and luckily they detected it. If Mandela can get it, Baba, who are you? Ozenzo Superman Ochegile. Just want to see here as well. One more name. 1997, Desmond Tutu was diagnosed with prostate cancer and battled the disease for many years. He underwent various treatments, including surgery, hormone therapy, and radiation therapy, sometimes facing recurrences of the cancer. Very sad. So this one wasn't picked up as early. And they're not the only ones. There are many. Doesn't judge race. Yes, it judges gender, but it doesn't judge in terms of race. And then there's a higher prevalence in older men. I'll stop there. I'm going to research one more thing and then not one more thing. I'm going to research a few more things. I just want to get this term right. We recently hosted Dr. Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Ifatunde, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Amandla. And one of the things he raised controversially, and this is why I added a disclaimer, and I'm going to raise this disclaimer again so that YouTube and other platforms don't punish us. This is not fact. This is opinion. We don't know much about the research. People can go research for themselves. This is something that was raised as an opinion. The MMR vaccine is a combination vaccine that protects against measles, mumps, and rubella. It's a safe and effective way to prevent these highly contagious viral diseases, particularly in children. In South Africa, the MMR vaccine is part of the routine childhood immunization schedule. Dr. Umar Ifatunde would caution us to try and not have our children get the MMR vaccine. I'm not suggesting it. It's not suggested by the healthcare industry. The MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella, can cause some side effects, but most are mild and temporary. Common side effects include pain, redness, or swelling at the injection site, and a mild rash or fever that may occur a week or two after vaccination. More serious but rare side effects can include febrile seizures, low platelets, which can cause unusual bleeding or bruising, and allergic reactions. Dr. Ifatunde would say that from the research that he has seen, the MMR vaccine is now responsible for a lot of kids being diagnosed with autism and other development issues. Now, he wouldn't be the first one, and there'd be many others that would speak about the danger of some of these vaccines that children get. Not just autism, not just development, but something as severe as fertility, maybe even increasing your chances of getting cancer later on in life. I'm raising this because he raised this. I'm raising this because there are a lot of parents, and there's an increased prevalence in children with autism. There's an increased prevalence in children with some types of development issues, some type of disabilities, even physical, some types of mental issues, including depression, and it's increased insanely. And while we're looking at all the other environmental factors, social media, TV, diet, lifestyle, we also have to look at some of the things that we put into our bodies. We have to look at some of these medical things that we put into our bodies that may cause problems. And I will ask you guys and many others to maybe do more research in some of these things. PMC.ncbi, I'm going to get the official name of the website. What are the neurological side effects of the MMR vaccine? These can include fever, rash, gland inflammation, and neurological disorders like epilepsy, encephalitis, aseptic meningitis, and autistic disorders. Very dangerous. The website being the National Library of Medicine, pmc.ncbi.nlm.nhi.gov. The National Library of Medicine website. This is a journal that has been published. I think it's from Italy. Partial third nerve palsy after measles, mumps, rubella vaccination. Written by a couple of people, Francesca Manzotti, Chiara Menozzi, Maria R. Porta, and Jalka G. Orsoni. Just as one of the references, but please go and do your own research as well. Not just these ones, but others as well. A lot of our forefathers wouldn't take these things and were stronger, lived longer. Yes, we speak about the decrease in the mortality rate. We speak about a longer life expectancy. But then we also have to speak about some of the things we put in because they may work for you. We got shots, we're fine, but we don't know what they're doing to other people as well, and we need to take precaution. Before I speak about my last point, so I just need to check something. Okay, been going for good time. Before I speak about my last point, I want to give you guys a personal theory I have around cancer. It's not even a personal, I've heard people's opinions. I just have never done research. I've given you the definition of cancer and what it is. I want to look up the main types of cancer. I made a joke, where I was comparing cancer to the influx of undocumented immigrants, the Mexicans, the Zimbabweans, the Nigerians. But I'm going to carry on with that analogy to try and make a point. There's a reason why certain countries get an influx of undocumented immigrants, illegal foreigners, whatever you want to call them. And it's normally because of, outside of maybe their countries where they come from, being poor, impoverished, being war-torn, etc. It has to do with weak borders, weak company sovereignty, weak deportation laws, so-called human rights and the likes, which keep some of those people there who end up taking up some of those resources. I'd like to think when it comes to cancer, again, I haven't done the research, I'm not a qualified medical professional at all, that maybe part of the reasons we also get cancer is because of weak borders in your body, whatever those borders may be. I spoke about HPV and cervical cancer. HPV being sexually transmitted, which then graduates to cervical cancer. So there is a foreign entity that entered the body of the woman, an unwanted body, which ended up infecting the woman and then spreading. Undocumented immigrants having lots and lots of babies, chowing your resources, and now your body is infested. We need to speak about that. The main types of cancer are broadly characterized into carcinoma, sarcoma, melanoma, lymphoma, and leukemia. Cancers are also classified by the organ or tissue where they originate, such as breast cancer, lung cancer, or prostate cancer. Something like lung cancer is so easy. People smoke. People put all kinds of hazardous substances in their body through inhaling cigarettes with nicotine and tar and I think carbon monoxide or monoxide, whatever the case may be. Not only smoking, secondhand smoking, which is why in certain areas you're not allowed to smoke around other people. You become a passive smoker. And then there's inconsiderate people that smoke in a car, especially with children. They smoke in their home with their children, and then the children get sick. Sometimes you're in an industrial space with chemicals and mining and all these things, smog, which you then inhale, and that also leads to some of these, again, unwanted foreign substances entering your body. I haven't done research into breast cancer. I'm not sure about it. Prostate cancer, maybe we can have a conversation about it as well at some point. I want to speak about skin cancer as an example. We can maybe speak about other cancers as well at some point. You've got your bladder cancer. We spoke about testicular. You've got pancreatic cancers and the like. I once saw a video on TikTok, not medical advice. Someone was speaking about skin cancer, which we know affects a lot of lighter skinned European white people because we say they don't have melanin, they don't have carbon, they don't have copper. And when their skins react with the sun, because they come from colder climates, something happens within this, which then leads to these cells multiplying and the like. And Africans, the original man, we've got these things within our body naturally. Over time, maybe evolution, where when we interact with the sun, we enjoy it, Baba. We don't need zinc and other things to block the UV rays. This video, I think it was a white lady. She was speaking about there are various causes of cancer, but one of the things we don't speak about is how we've changed our diets and the things we put in our bodies. Especially looking at something like skin cancer. The sun is the number one source of energy in the world. It cooks, it burns, it ripens. When you go outside, you come back darker, meaning you were in an oven. You were in a microwave oven. Some form of radiation was going in and out of you. When it comes to your body, number one, it's meant to be in a limited amount. You're not meant to be overexposed. A limited amount, a healthy amount. Otherwise, you get what's called being sunburned. It's like putting food in a microwave for too long or in an oven for too long, you burn it. There's a healthy amount. And then there's obviously different levels of skin tone which can handle more of those rays. When those rays hit your skin, get through your skin and penetrate your body, they start cooking you. Now, back in the day, they'd be cooking a person who was eating cabbage, spinach, peaches, red meat, white meat, fish, organic foods, people that were drinking water, as an example. So when the sun cooks you, it cooks whatever is inside you as well. And it's okay. The problem comes now when the sun has to cook a body that has been infested with processed medication in the form of oral pills, syrups, injections, and others. This would include things like contraceptives, some type of implant. That's what it's working with. Then we speak about processed foods and GMOs. That sun is cooking foods that were not even grown out in nature with the sun, that were grown in labs under certain specifications and dimensions. And now the sun is interacting with those products, those chemicals, those things in you through your skin. There's a conversation around microplastics and the danger of heating up food in plastic containers in the microwave. When the microwave is cooking the stuff, that plastic is getting into the food. You're eating that food, you're putting that food in your body, and then you go out into a natural microwave, which is going to cook you further. What do you think is happening to your body at that time? What do you think is happening to your skin at that time? What quality of blood, of tissue, of organs do you have? And when the sun is cooking you, what do you think is actually happening? What do you think is cooking inside you? So I've got a theory. It's a theory, it's an opinion. It is not medical information. That a lot of the cancers that we are developing because the foods we are putting in our bodies are incredibly unhealthy and they are reacting. It could be with the sun, it could be with the cold, it could be with other external dynamics. And once you start fighting, they react. Foreign substances in you, you're sending a strong force to come and almost obliterate these unwanted foreigners, immigrants. They are going to resist. And in their resistance, what happens with some of these things is that they multiply even further. Because they're like, no, we need to. Weeds. Maybe that would have been a better example than human beings. Weeds. Pests. The way you come at them, sometimes they multiply and they go into other corners and they hide and they infest and inbreed even more. That's what cancer does. And with the radiation therapy, which is meant to, and chemo, which is meant to burn these cells, unfortunately, it's difficult for them to isolate. Are you South African or Zimbabwean? You look like... So they burn everything, which is why people that are undergoing chemo and the like, they lose their hair, they get weak, they get pale, because you're killing even the good cells in their bodies. And you're like, how did these things get in there in the first place? That's my first untested theory. My second untested theory, this is not just cancer, this applies to many illnesses. We have inherited genetic biological material in the form of our bodies. How black, white you are, how tall, short, the texture of your hair, the color of your eyes, your ability to withstand certain natural climatic conditions. These are inherited. You didn't choose to be white. You didn't choose to be black, to have curly hair. You didn't choose that. Sadly, for some kids, again, because of inherited genetic dynamics, they don't choose to be albino or suffer from or have albinism. They don't choose to be dwarfs and have dwarfism. They don't choose to be born with extra limbs or to have a shortage of limbs or other organs, etc. It's inherited. One of my favorite movie trilogies, arguably my favorite animated movie trilogy, is Kung Fu Panda with Po, voiced by Jack Black. As you go through Kung Fu Panda and this fat panda trying to become a dragon warrior and a Kung Fu master, one of the things he learns in there is being comfortable with himself. I'm a fat panda. I eat a lot. I sleep a lot. I hate moving around. But my strength lies in who I am. And it lies in also finding my panda village. I look at some people, I'll use an example of people that are overweight. I look at certain families that are deemed overweight naturally. You see the aunts, the uncles, hey, bonke bayidudla, big boned. And that gets passed on generation through generation. Arguably not healthy, higher risk of cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, and the likes. But they're big boned. The idea is to lose weight. My problem is when you have been designed to be a panda, because you come from a family of pandas, when you go on an aggressive diet, which is not within your genetic makeup, your body will retaliate. You'll find in your family of big boned people, the healthiest looking one is the one that's always sick. And it doesn't make sense. Kanjani? Who healthy was always running and you're like, but this is not what we inherited. That's not to say that you must remain fat. It's to say as you improve your genetic DNA, be considerate. And I do believe that in how you move, whether it's losing weight fast from a family of big bone people or gaining a lot of weight from a family of slender people and now you want to play sports and you're taking all these supplements, I think the body retaliates. I forgot to add supplements, by the way, especially gym supplements in some of the things we put in the body, which may cause the body to retaliate and react. The body may retaliate, and it may retaliate in a way you don't like. It may retaliate in creating certain cells, in shutting down certain parts of your body. Things like heart attacks, things like strokes. All of these, by the way, are just blood clots. It's the clotting, it's traffic in your bloodstream blocking. And you have to ask why. When we speak about depression, stroke, suicide, panic attacks, you are in an environment that is uncomfortable at an extreme level. People that have panic attacks are under stress. You're being hijacked. You have to write an exam. You haven't really studied. You just found out something happened in your family. And you can't breathe. Now, if you're not functioning naturally, your body starts doing certain things. There may be extreme things where they block things. It may be blood that's not moving because in your panic, some of your veins thin out, and when the traffic is flowing, traffic causes an accident. Some of these accidents, unfortunately, are irreversible. You have a stroke, a part of your body will never recover again. You have slurred speech for the rest of your life. Your heart is not pumping healthily, and you're meant to help your heart because, especially if you have fat around your heart, you're making it difficult for this bad boy to just be pumping its thing. But who are you naturally? And this involves the food that you eat. Because you may also look big, like your predecessors in Samoa, but you're not eating the natural fruits and vegetables they were eating to be big. Eating a coconut and fufu and plantain. You're eating junk. So your aunts and uncles who are living till 80 in their fatness are healthier than you dying at 45 because of the type of food you're eating. Yes, you are panda, you are fat panda, but you're not a panda eating bamboo. Which is a beautiful plant, by the way, one of the most unique plants on earth, the fastest growing plant on earth, very strong. Also becomes food for clothing, for building, etc. You're not eating that super plant called bamboo. You're a panda that's eating processed foods in a zoo. Some of the pandas that are being born are born small boned or they're short. You don't understand. It's because of the foods you're eating and your body will retaliate and will react. And I think some of this gives birth to some of the cancers that we have, etc. And I don't think we're having these conversations of, I know you come from a big family. I know you're keeping healthy, you're eating healthy foods and salads, and you run every day, but your body might punish you for the extremity you're putting it in. Because your ancestors in you don't know what you're doing. They feel like they are under attack physically. Because they can do that mentally when you put yourself in a space where you're under so much stress that your forefathers inside you are like, shut this thing down, we don't know what's going on. And you become depressed. But physically, it manifests cancer, stroke, other illnesses. Again, This is just a theory. It's my theory. I'll stop there. My last point. Ngiyaxolisa kubaba. Tata, to be honest. Thabo Mbeki, the ex-president of South Africa, who was the deputy president under Nelson Mandela, and then he'd be president after. I want to read the definitions and then I'm going to switch this thing off. The human immunodeficiency virus, or viruses, HIV. Human, us. Immunodeficiency, our immune system. Deficiency being, it's kind of fucked. And a virus. That's the first definition I want to get. I want to get the definition of AIDS for you. AIDS is an acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So we keep the immunodeficiency. It's no longer saying human, it's now saying acquired. And it's no longer saying virus, it's now saying syndrome. Let me get you the definition of a syndrome. One of my other favorite animated movies, by the way, is The Incredibles, specifically the first one, where the bad guy there is actually called Syndrome. Intwana le, Mr. Incredible, Monsieur Incroyable, was kind of snubbing. I didn't know, oh, okay. Yang Pampela, okay, kombisa. A syndrome is a set of symptoms or conditions, a set, very important, of symptoms or conditions that occur together and suggest the presence of a certain disease or an increased chance of developing the disease. That's what a syndrome is, which is different from a virus. Viruses are microscopic organisms that can infect hosts like humans, plants, or animals. They are a small piece of genetic information inside of a protective shell. Some viruses also have an envelope. That doesn't really mean anything. Viruses cannot reproduce without a host. So if you don't have a nice country, the viruses won't come, baba. Microscopic organisms. I'll see if I need to research anything else. We didn't create these words, these terms, and the definitions of them. We were taught by scientists, biologists, and people in the health care industry. There would be huge conspiracy theories around where HIV originates from, people speaking about a man sleeping with a monkey, etc., etc. And then there'd be huge arguments around the links between HIV and AIDS. And the president at the time when HIV became a pandemic in South Africa was Thabo Mbeki. And at the time it came out, he would be one of the people that would question the links between HIV and AIDS, where it comes from, how to cure it, and he would be attacked. To this day, he's accused of, it's one of the bad things about his legacy. Number of people who died from AIDS under Thabo Mbeki. TheGuardian.com. Thabo Mbeki's denial that HIV causes AIDS. Over 300,000 people died. 330,000 people. Articles from harvard.edu, etc., etc. Thabo Mbeki would say this would be sitedev.net. Mbeki's HIV/AIDS policies caused 365,000 deaths. And at the time, the Minister of Health would be Dr. Manto Shabalala Msimang. I was young. I was impressionable. I listened to the media. I bashed him. I bashed Dr. Manto Shabalala Msimang. She's passed on. We used to call her Dr. Beetroot. Very derogatory. And I made a video. This was during the COVID lockdown time where I apologized to ex-President Thabo Mbeki. I apologized to the late Dr. Manto Shabalala Msimang. Why? Why am I apologizing? We don't create these terms, these definitions. The virus is microscopic organisms that infect a host. What? A syndrome is a set of illnesses, and these are terms that are there. Let me start off with a controversial one. And look, the reason I would question these things and get to the apology was because during the corona viruses, the COVID-19, and specifically the 19 version of the corona group of viruses, also microscopic organisms. I did a lot of research into healthcare, what viruses are, what bacterial infections are, and the things that we are taught versus what we're seeing out there versus the propaganda versus the so-called remedies don't really align. Thabo Mbeki, when the HIV pandemic started, similar to some of us when the COVID pandemic started, looked at the research and the data and asked very important intellectual questions. Because if you're trying to solve a problem, the most important thing to do is, number one, to define the problem correctly. So that when you go to find a solution, it's going to solve the problem correctly. But that was not the intention of the people that to this day have made billions, if not trillions, from the HIV pandemic. HIV, sexually transmitted infection, and many of us are comfortable with that aspect of it. Same way with COVID, it spread like flu through fluids. Someone was sneezing, you were kissing someone, they were coughing into their hand, they touched a place, you touched the same place. That fluid then, you touch your nose, you touch your mouth, it gets into the host, this virus. But viruses have certain characteristics and traits, which I'm not going to get into the technicalities. And when you look at HIV as a standalone virus, immunodeficiency, sexually transmitted, comes to attack your immune system in the form of attacking your CD4 count or your white cells, which are the ones that fight infection. Any infection you get into your body, flu, what, your body is equipped to fight these things. You have cells that are designed like soldiers to fight these things. And when it comes to viruses, generally, viruses cannot be cured. Generally, viruses get defeated by those cells in the body. Goes away, like flu. Many people may not know about the influenza virus. Flu does not have a cure. You have symptoms, runny nose, sore throat, coughing, sneezing, fever, high temperature. Doctors, pharmacists will prescribe medicine to manage the symptoms, not to cure the flu. Oh, I've got flu, let me go get medicine to kill it. No, you're not killing it. What you're doing is you're getting stuff to soothe the throat, like lozenges and cough syrups that have honey in them to soothe the throat so that it doesn't have much irritation. You take your med lemons and the like for fever. You take other things maybe for the runny nose, etc. The body fights the influenza virus on its own, and within 3-5 days on average, the thing is gone. Not because you took cough syrup or whatever else you took. It's because the body fought. You can take immune boosters to help amasoja to say bafan, amanyolo grand. Part of it includes rest. Part of it includes hydrating, especially with water. To say, I'm going to give amasoja army a fighting chance. COVID would be the same, which is why even at the peak, governments around the world would still say, if you test positive for COVID, go home, rest, isolate for 7 to 10 to 14 days, depending on when they were doing this thing, and then come back into mainstream society. You didn't even have to inject anything. You didn't have to take any pill. You didn't have to take any syrup. You just had to go home and chill and let the body do the rest. HIV, a virus, comes out. And some of the research that Mbeki, Dr. Manto Shabalala Msimang, which would be some of the greatest minds in medicine, they would be like, no, man, when it comes to immunodeficiency, we need to boost the immune system. We need to make sure that your immune system is strong, your CD4 count is high. That's how you deal with HIV. And in that, it was again, rest, maybe isolate. Because it's sexually transmitted, please don't go and sleep with other people. Same way you have flu. Don't go around coughing in people's mouths. So don't have sex with other people unprotected specifically because of that exchange of fluids. And then to boost the immune system, eat well. Eat well. Dr. Manto Shabalala Msimang would speak about beetroot, spinach, vegetables, fruits, clean water, what, and we'd laugh at her. The cure to HIV is eating beetroot, garlic. We laughed. Erroneously so. The reason people like Magic Johnson and many others have been able to be HIV positive for so long and have never died and have actually even looked healthier is because they've taken care of their immune system with this virus. What we're not sure about, besides where it comes from, is where does this virus go? Or does it ever go? Can you defeat the HIV virus? I'd watch an episode on Oprah where a group of women would sit there and some of them would say, they used to be HIV positive, they're not anymore. Dr. Sebi, may he rest in peace, would speak about how he cured people of the HIV virus. Kanjani. But isn't this thing forever? Are viruses forever? Does the influenza virus live in you forever? Does the coronavirus live in you forever? Does the HIV virus live in you forever? Is it there? Is it dormant? The way they test for HIV is to see if the virus picks up, detectable. If ever you've ever tested for HIV, you'll see the result there is not necessarily positive, negative. It says detectable, non-detectable. That means we either saw it or we did not. I can only imagine the number of people that have tested for HIV so many times where at some point it's detectable, sometimes it's not. And you're like, no man, that doesn't make sense. Being your test it's not detectable. And you're like, no, it's not picking up. Why is it not picking up? Is it that it's gone? Did your immune system fight it off? Or is it that it never really goes away? Is it that it's just a measurement of your CD4 count, your cells? And when Thabo Mbeki and Manto Shabalala Msimang would speak about how HIV is, specifically AIDS, are socioeconomic illnesses, we didn't get it. Oh, so if I'm poor, so I need AIDS. It's like, you guys were not listening. I want to say this controversially. No one dies from HIV. HIV cannot kill you. What HIV does is it attacks your immune system so that it becomes weak and you have few white cells. Once your immune system is weak, once your borders are weak, anyone can come in, Baba. Now, HIV is one of them. But your immune system can come from a poor diet. It can come from a horrible lifestyle. It can come from horrible things that you take into your body, and over-ingestion of medicine and the likes, over-exertion of your body in various ways. Your immune system gets weak. Once your immune system gets weak, things can come in. When those things come in, TB, flu, diabetes, other things, they are finding earth that has got weak protection. That's when we start speaking about the syndrome. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. The syndrome is a set of illnesses. You went and you acquired a set of illnesses because of your weak immune system. HIV will not kill you. The diseases kill you. The TB, the flu, they kill you because your immune system is weak and it can't fight. AIDS kills. And the question was, is there a link between HIV and AIDS? Can you get a syndrome, a collection of illnesses, because you have a weak immune system? Do you need to have had sex unprotected with someone who has HIV? Or can you have a weak immune system because your diet is poor? You live in shacks with running sewage. You don't have flushable toilets. You don't clean your hands. And weak immune system, you're not eating, you're not drinking clean water. So you already have a deficient immune system. And now that you have that, you're around people that have all kinds of illnesses. And now all of a sudden you have a syndrome, a group of illnesses because you have a weak immune system, and you go and acquire these illnesses. You have AIDS. Does this AIDS come from HIV? To this day, we can't speak about that. 300,000, 330,000, 365,000 people died. And when you raise this thing, the family members, the loved ones of those people that died are like, I can't believe what you're saying. I lost a mother. I lost a cousin. How insensitive can you be? And I'm like, I'm asking questions based on the same science, medicine, biology we've been taught. And if we're not going to ask those questions, if indeed the HIV virus is a real thing, we'll never be able to solve it because we're not having the right conversation. And all Thabo Mbeki was doing is asking. Antiretrovirals, ARVs, would become a $1 trillion industry. In the South African context, there was a company called Aspen which had a monopoly. I think it's been broken up into 3 suppliers today. Aspen would be big funder of political parties. Surprise, surprise. When the COVID vax, yet Johnson & Johnson is to be manufactured in South Africa and rolled out, the first company that would get the rights would be Aspen Pharmaceuticals, one of the funders of many political parties, including the bigger ones, specifically the ANC. That didn't work out. We're too woke, there's too much social media, so some of those vaccine plants kind of bombed. But money was made. There are still people vaccinating, there are still people testing today. Doctors at the time during COVID were told, we need to focus on COVID, ignore everything else. There were people that died because hospitals were prioritizing COVID. Other things were not that important. Even during the COVID lockdown in South Africa, TB, tuberculosis, was still the #1 killer in South Africa by far. It never changed. They tried to say COVID and you're like, it's still got nothing on TB. Nothing. HIV won't kill you. Yes, it's controversial, but it's what I know as a medical fact. We can look it up and debate with me. It's okay, I don't mind. Sexually transmitted infections, 100%. You guys are having sex, you're not clean. The person you're sleeping with is unhealthy. They have other diseases. You can only imagine the quality of their genital fluids, whether it's sperm, semen, whether it's vaginal fluids. The quality. Worse if you're adding things like anal sex, which is why a lot of people would link back in the day AIDS to anal sex, gay sex, because the anus is not a clean part of the body. You're putting a unprotected penis inside a place which excretes dirt from the body. That's what the anus, that's what the rectum does. When you go to the toilet, you're excreting filth that the body is like, hey, get rid of this rubbish. And someone is coming to put their penis in there. Whether you're having gay sex or whether you're having anal sex with a woman unprotected, when your penis goes in there unprotected and it's dealing in a space that has excretion of unwanted substances, when that stuff gets into your penis, what do you think it's going to do to you? And then you want to come into the vagina with that same, or some woman must put her mouth, or some man, if you're homosexual, has to put his mouth on that same penis to release whatever your secretion, because semen is to make babies, whatever you're secreting that's now been infected. And we're not having these conversations, and people keep getting sick, and we speak at a high level, but we're not really discussing where these things come from, where they're going, so that we can actually try and resolve them. What African medicine used to do back in the day, to resolve issues and not necessarily to just put a plaster on them. The other thing doctors were made to do is that anytime someone died, same thing I believe happens in South Africa to this day. You die from TB, they test if you're HIV positive, they count you as an HIV-related death. You would die of TB, diabetes, whatever, during COVID pandemonium. They'd be like, please test for COVID as well. As soon as you test positive for COVID, they're like, put it as a COVID-related death. So some of the data that we got was not even accurate. To a point where it was as ridiculous as it sounds, people that were dying in car accidents and stuff were also being listed under. And at a time when they were counting the infections, they were not counting people that self-cured. Abo Sakina Kamwendo, Abo Leanne Manas on Morning Live would tell us we've now surpassed 1 million infections. But they're not telling you of those million, how many people went home and now are okay. Imagine if every year we count how many people have flu and get better, and we're like, we've just hit the 1 million mark of flu. Yeah, but people get sick all the time and then they get better. rather count the deaths. And in those deaths, which they weren't doing, which was propaganda, was of these people dying of COVID, what are the comorbidities? So illnesses, chronic illnesses. This person had TB, they had diabetes, this person was in a car accident, this person had cancer. Tell us those things as well. And then isolate those people and say, these are the COVID guys that also had cancer, TB, whatever. And then these are the guys that died purely from COVID. So we can get real data. But this is not welcomed. And again, I'm adding a disclaimer that this is not verified information, so that whoever's going to give us issues with this video is aware that I'm sharing my views and my opinions, and you guys are free to research them as well. Let me close off. Tuberculosis, also colloquially known as the white death, or historically as consumption, is a contagious disease, usually caused by the Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria. Tuberculosis generally affects the lungs, but it can also affect other parts of the body. Most infections show no symptoms, in which case it is known as inactive or latent tuberculosis. Typical symptoms of active TB are a chronic cough with blood-containing mucus. So if you're constantly coughing, and when you spit, there's blood in that saliva or the mucus. High fever, night sweats, and weight loss. Infection of other organs can cause a wide range of symptoms. To prevent tuberculosis, TB, focus on preventing infection and managing latent TB. This includes practicing good hygiene, like covering coughs and sneezes, and seeking treatment for latent TB to prevent it from developing into active TB. In healthcare settings, infection control measures such as ventilation and protective equipment are crucial. Dispose of used tissues properly, preferably in a sealed bag. Wash your hands frequently, especially after coughing or sneezing. Limit close contact with people who have active TB. Very, very important. We're going back to lifestyle. Maintain a healthy diet and engage in regular exercise. Oh, we're back to beetroot and garlic. Avoid smoking and excessive alcohol consumption. Smoking, alcohol, these are things that are attacking your immune system every single day because you're fucking with your lungs. These are numbers from 2023 verified by the World Health Organization. In 2023, there were an estimated 56,000 tuberculosis deaths in South Africa, making it one of the leading causes of death in the country. This number is based on estimates from the World Health Organization and other modeling efforts. 56,000 deaths. A lot of them being people that are living with HIV, which means their immune systems are compromised. Of the 56,000 who died, 31,000 of them were people living with HIV. So the immune system is compromised. Your chest is infected. You have a chronic cough with blood in the mucus. You have a fever. You have night sweats and the like. You're obviously not helping your body. Lapo, we actually go beetroot no garlic because you don't want to eat healthy. On top of it, what are you doing? You're smoking. You're drinking. You're engaging in reckless sex. You live in poor environments with other ill people. You stand no fucking chance at all. Let me shut it down here. Again, as I close, I'm not a qualified medical professional. I have not done in-depth research. I have not written a dissertation or a thesis. This is just from information that anyone can easily find online. And these are conversations we need to have because many of our family members are dying in various ways from things that are so avoidable. Unfortunately, we don't have people that are studying lifestyle in universities. We don't have people that are doing an MBCHB or that have PhDs in lifestyle adjustments. But the reality is most of our illnesses, most of the people that are dying because their lifestyles are not great. The places they live in are dirty. They are filled with smoke. They are filled with rats, which spread poison, cockroaches, and the like. They engage in reckless sex with sick people. You get your HPVs. You're not getting a pap smear. It's graduating to cervical cancer. You're getting testicular cancer. Some of it probably, if we were to do a deep dive, would probably linked to the type of sex that you're having. I also even worry about porn, because some of these things may have to do with the type of sex you're having. This rough, aggressive sex where you're absolutely punishing your genitalia. And the weird type of sex you guys are having, including your anals and your orals and the like, with the number of sexual partners that you're sleeping with. Spoke about teenage pregnancies. I gave my apology to ex-President Thabo Mbeki, and I wish we could re-raise this conversation and have it. And be like, we'd like to pick up from where Thabo Mbeki was asking questions, and we'd like to ask the same questions and others. Because it cannot be that the World Health Organization and American health departments are going to constantly force us and dictate to us how sick we are, what we have, our Bill Gates, force certain vaccines, immunizations, ARVs, and the like, which are problematic. Whereas our problems are socioeconomic. Our people are poor. Our people don't have land. Our people don't know how to work the land and grow their own organic foods that are not linked to funny seeds from Monsanto and other places. Where we're not smoking, especially in front of our kids. Now vaping has become a pandemic for kids. Hubley. Kids are getting chest infections, lung cancers. Oh, Hubley is not that bad. People are smoking weed. No, weed is not as bad as cigarettes. You're fucking polluting your lungs. 56,000 deaths of TB. I can only imagine how many of those people it's from inhaling garbage. Then you include abosodini, asbestos, and other chemicals in the areas, the things you drink, the processed foods, the medicines, the things you inject in your bodies. Our body is meant to have sovereignty. We have let go of that sovereignty and we let anyone enter our bodies, not just sexually, but medically, in terms of the food we eat, in terms of the things we inhale. And we're not getting better. Penuel the Black Pen.